So in the previous video we converted a boolean into a string, and now we're going to look at typecasting, but this time turning a string into a boolean. So let's just start here, and we've got our single line comment string to boolean, and we create this string here. We say s equals hello world, and we can put it the hello world in single quotes or into double quotes. We choose to single quotes because it saves us pressing one shift key, and then we can use this boolean method over here, which returns true when the argument x is true and returns false otherwise. But what does it mean when we put in s into this function? Because this is not a true and this is not a false. This is actually a string value. In fact, it is a sentence, so it's like putting this entire sentence into this function over here like this. So what will happen when we do run this? So we'll put s back in, our variable s, which will be assigned the value hello world, and we will attempt to run this. And we do run this code here, and we will see what happens down below, and we get this true. So this comes from line number 5, which is print the result. So the result is the boolean of s. And if we were to go to our Jupyter variables, and a way to get to those to be able to see it is either click on the variables over here, we'll press Control J, either or will do it. If we click on the variables, then we see that the value or the variable s is of type string. Str stands for string, and it is, I just put a comment on these ones because we don't want this overwriting at this point in time. Let's just rerun it. It is a string, and then it is of size 11, and it says hello world. And where does the size 11 come from? Well, if we have a look here, world, we'll start from the hello. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters in the word hello, and also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters in the word world. And in between there's one space, so 5 and 5, and the extra one space is 11 characters. So this size representation, this number 11, represents the number of characters in the string hello world. This is the string literal hello world. Now, there's no such thing, or there's no such meaning of a boolean of an actual string. So what Python actually does, or what the interpreter does, is it interprets this string as the size of the actual string, and in our particular case the size of the actual string is 11, and the boolean operator operates on any number, and if that number is 0, then the boolean representation is false, and if the number is any other number apart from 0, then the boolean representation is true. So hello world is interpreted by its size. It's of size 11, and therefore the boolean representation of hello world is true because it's not 0 character string. And the way that we can actually show this is if we create a 0 length string. So here is a 0 length string here, s equals quotations, quotations, or we could use the double quotations, whichever we decided to choose. But this string has nothing in it. Now do notice that this particular string here has something in it because it's got 3 spaces, and we can actually investigate that and take a look at that afterwards too. We can then assign the result in the same way that we did on line number 4. We're going to copy that straight onto line number 8, and we can print out our result. And when we do that, just noting that s gets overwritten, so line number 2, s is assigned the value hello world, and on line number 7, s is now assigned this literal string, which is empty. So we're just going to run this piece of code, and we see straight away that s is still of type string, but the size has disappeared. It's actually of length 0, and we see that here it says length 0. So it doesn't actually put the 2 quotes, it actually tells us that there's a length of 0. And when we come to print out the representation or the value of that, we get true. So the bool of a 0 length string is in fact false. Now, just noting, going back to the point where if we put in a couple of spaces, the question is what would happen. And actually this is a string of length 3, 1, 2, 3 characters, because I put in 3 spaces. So when we hit the return key over here, where the size will be it will pop up, and we'll see the value of 3 in there, so it'll be of size length 3, and inside, so that will be its size, and inside the actual value component there will just be 3 spaces, and finally this false will turn into a true because the boolean of 3 is a true, because it's boolean of, remembering that anything that is not 0, the boolean will interpret to be true, and anything that is 0, the boolean of that will interpret to be false. So we will run this piece of code and it turns into true, and we see that there's a size of 3, and that's the number of characters that are in this particular string, and the length is of it's of length size 3 as well. It's actually 3 spaces, so it gets represented by the length of 3. And again, if we are to remove these 3 spaces, we get a false. So this is converting a string to a boolean. There are various use cases of where we might want to use this, which we'll get into in a later video. And that's it.